Welcome to the Mentor Studio, where today's thought leaders and leading entrepreneurs inspire and bring real-world ideas that help you take your career to levels you've only dreamed of. Now buckle in. Here's your host, Michael Silvers.
All right, everybody, I wanted to welcome you today to the Mentor Studio. I am so glad that you're on with us. If you listen to this 5 years down the line and you're out there at the beach, we're not at the moment, but wanted to just let everybody know thank you for being on this call and listening to it, whether it's in your car, if you're an essential worker getting out there, whether you're actually at home and you just want more education information. But it's a podcast for all of you and really for us to mentor you in many different facets. We have many exciting podcasters coming on in health and wellness, mentoring, business, acting, voiceover, entertainment. We're really there to mentor you and to help you find that direction. You can also go to www.thementorstudio.com. We're moving to another site. It's a membership site. We're going to have a place for all of you that listen to the podcast and a way to become more involved with us. Is that something that you'd like to do? So without for any further ado, our guest today, I've known her for many years, and I'm going to let her do, because she knows how to do this, her earn the right. But, you have to respect somebody that is always out there to be a service to others, somebody who is always there to help others. She was part of a large mastermind that we used to run. She traveled the country with us, was always of service. I think at the last one we did, we worked with the Wounded Warriors, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
We did it with the Wounded Warriors, and we built wheelchairs and guitars. Was that right?
That is correct, yes.
That's right. I remember that. And they said they had never seen anybody build one so fast. And it is how we give back, which is really that big piece. Without any further ado, with amazing amount of information, and remember, we're very casual. We're going to walk this through. A big, huge round of applause to Kristi Duvall. Kristi, and you guys can applaud, by the way. So we're on a video feed, and everybody can see this. And then podcasters, you can't. But we'll have the video feeds eventually go up live. So Kristi, just tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, thank you, Michael. And when you first asked me to do this, I thought, why me? But then again, I did something, went back and reviewed some of the challenges, both positive and negative things that I've done in my career. And I really want everybody, I'm going to just spend a few minutes on, how I got here. But I also would like everybody to just sit down, especially right now, and take some time, after this call or in the next couple of days, and really list out what it is you've accomplished. What have you had in your life that you've overcome? Because I think right now we are all so consumed with our powers being taken away, all the craziness that's going on and all that kind of stuff. And really, if we will look inside and really realize what we've overcome, what we have ahead of us really can be much better times. And it'll give us more power. And that's what I sat down and looked at. And I've actually been doing real estate. I've been an entrepreneur or whatever been real estate full-time for 15 years. I kind of laugh and say I'm unemployable at this point because I've been self-employed for almost 30, and ups and downs, obviously. When I first got into real estate, it was about 2004, 2005. And, things were a lot different then, but did a lot of real estate on the subject to seller financing, taking over debt, just a lot of different varieties, done rehabs, done wholesale, done all the different things. And, but then the market started to change. And I think that's one thing I really want to touch on right now is not getting so set in your ways, but being able to be flexible with the market and shift as this market shifts. And that's what I want to help people do today. Got involved, made a lot of mistakes. I used to read some of the books. I'd read half the book. I'd go try it. I probably should have read the full book on a lot of different times. And then I realized that a lot of people that are out there writing books and giving seminars and stuff aren't really doing the business. So I think you have to be very careful about who you learn from. And that's why I really like being involved with Michael and his group. They've always been very professional and knowledgeable in whoever they bring on and the things that they get involved with. About 5 years ago, I got very involved in commercial, got involved with the idea of it'd be great to go out and own commercial, and kind of grew too fast and didn't really be careful what you wish for. So I learned a lot of things the hard way. I've done real estate, I've done apartments, self-storage, RV parks, a lot of different things. And just in the last few days, I really feel like I've stepped back 10, 12 years as far as what the market is doing, how it's changing. And yes, to say that I'm out there in the middle of it, I actually am. I actually had a commercial project that I've had for a while, an RV park, shut down by the state yesterday. They shut down all the state parks. And then as of last night at 5:00, they shut down the private ones. So yes, I'm out there in the market. I'm right in the middle of this stuff. And what I have decided to do and what I want to share with you guys is going back to the basics. I think sometimes we get ahead of ourselves because we get this idea that we've got to do everything bigger and better and just grow, grow, grow. Then we have an adjustment in the market like none of us like just happened or is happening. And we have to plan for these things. We have to be able to shift and change with the market as things happen. What I'd like to do is help you protect yourselves from the same mistakes financially, stress-wise, emotionally, everything that I've had over these years, and help you move forward quickly with confidence without going through all that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'm taking notes, by the way, just like everybody else is writing and doing at the same time. So keep going. That's brilliant. You're welcome.
Well, and what's interesting, and I love commercial, don't get me wrong, but everybody talks about commercial as being the end-all be-all. And truthfully, I had to step back from my whole business about a year ago due to a health issue. And it's actually my residential properties that I put in place 10 years ago that kept my lights on, kept food on my table, kept my bills paid over this last year when I completely stepped back. Unfortunately, I became a motivated seller on some of my commercial stuff, which I always try to be on the other side of that. So I've really, this last year has been a huge learning experience in what works, what doesn't, how we need to prepare, and that bigger is not always better. Consistency, systems in place, focus. These are all things that I really want to talk about, and mindset. To just go back for just a real quick second. I did the traditional education, got the bachelor's degree, was going to be set up to do a career and that kind of stuff. And I just always had this, there's got to be something different. I don't want to work in a cubicle. Don't want to work for somebody else. And that's definitely had its ups and downs. And now more than ever, who you learn from, your education and your mentors are critical. And that's why I like being involved with the types of things that Michael teaches, because there's going to be so many people. I'm already seeing my Facebook feed right now just loaded with people selling how to do real estate, how to change, how to do all this stuff. And that's fine. But these are not necessarily the people that I've seen long-term as educators that are actually out doing the business. So just be careful with that.
One quick question. I'm just going to jump in before you get to the systems and you're going to, I know you're going to cover the mindset. What is your why? Why are you doing this and what keeps you moving forward every day?
Well, my number one why is my daughter. And some of the things that, and just being free, having the freedom to be with family when I want to, travel when I want to, but also not be in a position where somebody else controls my future. And I think right now it's so critical on that. It's teaching and helping, but you have to come from a service standpoint. But really that's my big why is freedom and my daughter. And unfortunately, taken after she was literally kind of forced into the whole entrepreneur thing because I needed her help. And so she stepped in and really took over. And, his heading down that path. And now she's doing her own consulting and things. So seeing her be able to take off and do those kind of things has been a huge reward to me. But I really want to touch base on how critical the mindset is, especially right now. I see so many people that are in that, oh no, what am I going to do? And especially with real estate, because the market is changing literally by the minute as we're talking right now. And just in the last 10 days, the type of real estate that I do has gone from going out and meeting with people individually to literally doing virtual meetings, virtual showings, and this type of stuff. So we are literally taking what used to be face-to-face offline and actually doing virtual. The other thing is we are going to have a tidal wave of people that are becoming more flexible with the way they sell their house. We're going to have to create more flexibility in the way they buy. And I've spent 15 years doing residential and commercial and never once used a bank loan on anything. So that's what I've kind of mastered is the not using banks, not having to worry about your credit and that type of thing.
See, that's huge, actually, because so many people I know, we've had lots of, I'm not going to use one, we've had a lot of people want to get into real estate, and they're hard workers, they'll get it done, they're personable, They have even an online presence, and they're so afraid. Maybe they had a bad last year, so their credit looks terrible, even though they paid every single bill, right? Or they've always been very responsible, or they think they need money to start. There's all these things that block us from starting. So for you just to say that takes a lot of fear away, and that's awesome.
Well, thank you. And I really think that that's where we need to get is we are all so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And it's about focusing, keeping it simple, putting systems in place. Now, the systems in place are absolutely critical going forward to success, because the more you can take yourself out of having to do every little thing, and this is something I learned absolutely the hard way, because I just have to learn things the hard way a lot of times. But anyway, why real estate and why now? As we all know, everybody's got to have a place to live. But it's been such a seller's market now for a while. And, you see all these reality shows, fix and flip, rehabs, all that kind of stuff. This market has shifted drastically in the last couple of weeks, and even in the last few days. Right now, that fix and flip is probably the most dangerous thing you can do financially, most risky. I would suggest anybody that's doing that right now to finish it up and get it moved on. They may have to do some different type of format or selling, that type of thing. Right now, we need to become transaction engineers. Not wholesalers, flippers, retailers, whatever. There's a lot of different ways of acquiring real estate. But right now, we need to look at not just one way of doing things, because it has transitioned so much. And our goal should be solution providers. How do we solve the problems? And we've gone from a pretty basic market right now for investing to a severe problem that is starting, and it's going to get more drastic. When we can help that, we can help sellers, buyers, lenders, and it actually helps the banks, because they're not going to be taking these houses back. Now, some people will talk about foreclosures, which are fine. I personally don't deal with foreclosures. I try to help consumers out before they get to that point. And like I said, I feel like we've stepped back many years. Used to, when I was taking over debt, doing subject to, things like that, was great. We could go in and help people. And then all of a sudden the market shifted a little after 2008, and people were upside down. And so what I've tried to do traditionally over the years is, when something's not working, it's like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. What is working? And I started learning about short sales. So then we came up with another way to help consumers. And, but anyway, then the market changed. But right now we are back to that. How do we help more people right now sell their homes and get into homes before they get into trouble? And obviously, I could talk for days on real estate and all the different details. So right now I want to try to give more of a, 30,000 foot level and be able to answer some questions.
And do remember too, Kristi, I'm just going to let you know that because we are in the podcast world too, that people are going to be listening to this 3 to 5 years from now. What I hope is that either we're not done with the banks, right? But what you're talking about, the money coming from other ways, it's just the natural way of being. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, continue.
Well, and this type of real estate has been done in all different types of markets, but I have going back to the basics and getting back to what I was doing years ago is what's working right now. And we're not talking about right now, people want to stay away from guaranteeing debt. They want to stay away from trying to go to the bank and borrow money, because we're going to start seeing a slide in values. So you want to get out of that place where you're dependent on selling that one house based on what the appraisal is. Appraisal is going to be different last week than it's going to be 3 weeks from now. And so we do a lot of seller financing and taking over debt, both buying and selling. I've done it in commercial, I've done it in residential. And there's multiple reasons why it's better for the seller and the buyer. And, Michael, the truth is there's a lot of us entrepreneurs that can't necessarily qualify for a home loan even before, because we're self-employed.
Right. That's right. I hear that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And there's a lot of people out there that have a good down payment. They can afford a monthly payment, that kind of stuff, but they do not fit into the bank's traditional lending. And they're a very underserved market. Also, we can pay more on the actual price if we can get terms, which benefits sellers, buyers, and that type of stuff. So it's about stepping back and going, okay, get out of fear, take back my power, what can I do to help these sellers and buyers? How can I? And the other thing is financial stress and stress in general is one of the biggest downfalls of relationships, health, self-confidence, and all that kind of thing. And this is a way that we can help move people forward and move ourselves forward and get out of that, because the stress will take your health and everything else if you let it. And so I have had a lot of experience with that, and I want to help people avoid those huge mistakes and that fear and know that you can do it.
That's right. And it's interesting because you talk about, you're going to talk, I know, about systems, and it is that mindset though, because it's the fear that stops us from doing any of that. If I haven't done it once, which is why having a mentor is so critical. Having somebody who's already doing what you want to do and already out there that you can take the lead from and move in that direction. And that's a brilliant, that's why I'm glad you're doing this call, because like me, right, we're no different than anybody else. Maybe we've just done it longer. Maybe it's something that we've done and other people don't understand what that means. So it's a critical piece. We'll do Q&A in about 10 minutes. We'll let Kristi go a little bit longer. And there's some questions already. And then if you have questions too, you can also put it in the chat, or I will open up the line for questions. All right, Kristi.
Okay, that sounds great. I don't really know how many details you want me to get into as far as specific methods of contacting sellers and buyers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we don't probably have time for too much of that now. What should they know in this period right now to just start using to know from even a systems perspective or mindset, wherever you want to go, because we can definitely have you back. That's not a problem. You're part of the community now. And by the way, everybody, Kristi signed up everybody who works for her into the Mentor Studio. So give her a round of applause. She saw it, she get it, and she says everybody needs to have mentoring, and you did that for your office. You're amazing.
Well, to be able to have, I can't begin to tell you the amount of money that I have spent over the years on mentoring and education and classes and all these things. Some of it was decent education, but you want to be involved with a mentor that will take you step by step, because some of the biggest mistakes I've made is getting involved with mentors who says, here's how you acquire it. And I acquire it, and then it's like, now what do you do with it? And it ended up costing me so much more in the long run because of having to figure it out along the way, because mentoring needs to be ongoing. It can't just be, here's how you buy the real estate. Well, now what am I going to do with it? How do I manage it? How do I sell it? How do I take care of a lot of these problems? And you can't just buy something, put a manager in it, walk off and collect a big check. That sounds really great, but so far I haven't found that to work very well. And so ongoing mentoring in all different aspects is critical. You have to look at the mindset. You have to look at the financial side of it, the bookkeeping, the management, who's going to take care of all those things, and setting systems up in place so that it can be cookie cutter. The biggest issue right now, the people that I work with that I find, is mastering that phone call, picking up that phone, and because everybody wants to deal with Facebook and texting and all that kind of stuff. It all has a place, but this is a people business. There has, even though now we can do everything virtually, you still want to be able to connect with that person. And if we can come across as we are here to help, and I work a lot with for sale by owners. I'm not a realtor, I have worked with realtors and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But with this type of real estate that I'm talking about, we deal with people who want to sell their house. A lot of people don't want people in and out, even before this coronavirus. They need to sell, divorce, death, transfer, all that kind of thing. I've worked with a lot of people who get transferred. They've got 2 house payments. They can't do 2 house payments. We can go in and help them solve that problem. So like I said, I don't want to get too much in the details right now because we can do a whole day seminar on that. But the main thing right now that I want to encourage people to do is, like I said, take back your power, get off the news, quit watching your Facebook feed about all the craziness that's going on. And here's a way that you can help your family and other families. But dealing with for sale by owner, and I work with people to partner on deals, but mainly I just want to encourage people to know that there's a way to do this without having to spend money. You do not have to borrow money. You don't have to do those kinds of things. We can, and we can help people in all kinds of situations. So, and it doesn't matter the price range. This isn't your basic fixer-up or wholesale flip type thing.
I think you're right. People are right now working, and I understand. The fear is, what is normal? What is the new normal? And will things get going again? I mean, there's always that fear. And you could say, okay, so, look at other countries that are already opening back up, maybe a little too fast, but they are opening back up and they're going back to business. But we will keep social distance for a while. There's things that are going to continue, especially until there is a vaccine. But how do you not let that fear stop you? Can you talk a little bit about that mindset?
Yes. Well, and even in the way that this business has changed, literally it changed overnight from going and looking at houses and meeting with people and sitting down at their kitchen table and talking to them and work through things to doing things virtually. But to me, the best way to get out of fear, just like you making me do this call today, is just do it. Just go, okay, here's what I can do. What am I missing? What do I need to do to start? And knowing that focus forward. You've got to focus forward. Take that desire you have inside and create an outside reality for it. Like I said, get off the TV, get off the news and all that kind of stuff. And right now is a perfect time. Everybody's at home. We're able to get a hold of people now that we couldn't hardly get a hold of before.
Right.
And I'm very familiar with Scott Carson, by the way. I've knew him years ago. And I'm excited that you're bringing him into the group. But
when he was a wee one.
Yeah, he was way ahead of his time. Yeah. Texting right now is a big way to get a hold of people. You don't have to have a huge list. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to already know everything. Because no matter what, just with a little bit of education, you're going to know more than the person you're talking to, and you're going to know how to help them.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Sorry. Coming from a place of solving their problems. We all have problems. How can we help solve it? And by solving their problems, we help solve our problems financially and everything else.
I agree. And people they're tired of that. There's a couple things going on, right? I wasn't set for this to happen now. And I know a lot of businesses in personal development that are basically shut down because they didn't shift. They didn't make a change. And even when it was coming, they didn't make a change, right? They just said, well, they'll never shut down the events, or we'll still be able to. And now there's this scrambling. Now there's a million calls online, but there's no coordination because they're coming out of fear. They're not doing it from, I'm really altruistically trying to take my message online. Oh my God, I've got to do my message online or I'm going out of business. And you can feel it on the calls. There's a little of that not desperation, but that part of themselves that is they're fearful for themselves. So now it's transferring over. And I think what you're saying is that long term sets you up, right? And that's the other thing. It's long term. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, and that's part of why I wanted to talk about that. I went back to what I was doing years ago. That because we do have to look at long term, and it's by doing what the kind of real estate that we're talking about is we've been doing it for a long time. It's good for long term because cash flow is king. And a lot of types of real estate that is taught and that is promoted is quick check, one check, and then you got to start over. And what we're talking about is money up front, monthly income, and then a payout down the road. And that cash flow will cut down on the stress, which helps with personal relationships, which I think is huge right now, and health. Those are the two things that we're going to see really starting to be tested right now is personal health and personal relationships. And monthly cash flow can help with both of those things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is all long-term. Everything I have set up has been for long-term. And I think it's critical.
Perfect. Thank you for saying that, because it's this life and everything we teach. This is a marathon. If we keep sprinting, right, we're always reinventing and restarting, and we're just sort of tired all the time. At the same time, we don't even understand where we're going or what our why is.
And that's huge. And, you asked me that, and I probably need to develop how to answer that better, because I think that's something we all need to sit back and say, and realize that we can overcome a lot of things. All of us have, we just don't sit down and really realize it. But the why is very critical.
It is, and it's the kind of thing too, like, you take a look at, you jumped in. I have to be honest, right? You jumped in, you signed, I think it was a text, right? And you signed up right away for the Mentor Studio, right? You got your whole group to sign up, but that's leadership. Does that make sense? Because they'll do what you do. And so, wow, they signed up into this. Now, what do I do? So, and they start to look at their own leadership. And the true leader is not about being the boss, or it's how to have others do that. And so you're talking about the long term. You're talking about the vision, right? And you're even willing to say, I maybe need to refine that a little bit more, because we're always developing. And I think that's a big piece, to be clear on the why we're doing it. And I tell the members all the time, right? You've heard this. Well, actually, you're new. So go out and get one person to sign up for the Vertical Live Mentor Studio, right? Right now, it's a lifetime membership. And by the way, for those listening to the podcast, it's www.theverticallive.com. Simple, easy. That is going to go away eventually, the lifetime. And you didn't even blink, hesitate. It was done before you knew it happened. But it's the same thing you're creating in your business and for your family and those around you. This is a marathon. It is, and you've gone through life challenges, and it's really you're leaving it for the legacy of the next kids, grandkids, the next generation of whoever that is.
Exactly. And in and you and I've talked about masterminds and how important that is right now, because people need to connect. And, I've jumped into your other mastermind groups and that type of thing. And it's important to stay connected, to reach out. There's days when I feel this way, and I don't know about you, Michael, but most people feel like, okay, I'm out here all by myself. How am I going to do this? Who can I ask a question to? Or, this isn't really working for me right now. I need some encouragement. Those are that's a big reason to be involved in these types of groups. Well, right. This isn't a unique group to be involved in this with and learn and connect. And, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I want to save other people from the mistakes. And so I just think every time we do, we need to sit back and go, okay, get back to basics. And right now I would focus on eliminating anything that you don't absolutely have to be spending time and energy on. If it's not making you grow, happy, or increasing your financial and your family life, I'd get it out of the way.
I agree. What's interesting too is we partner. So, right, it's about partnerships, because you talked about masterminds. Yes. And so we've been partnering, and we partnered with a group that it's awesome. We're going to move our platform over. And I talked to some Hollywood types the other day, love them dearly. And I said, basically, if you have a following of 1,000 or more that's fairly engaged, this new company partner of ours will produce a 5 to 7 series part, like a education piece for you. We'll create the site. We'll put it up on their network, right? And you bring people in, you get a percentage, because it's like an affiliate program. And but at the same time, there's thousands of other people that are going to look at what you have. And their comment back was, well, don't I get paid on everyone? And I'm like, okay, you just missed it. This is called shared economy, right? This is about abundance. And I had to break through that. It's like, how much am I going to make now? They could not see, okay, wait, because we're going to market you in SEO and everything. You're not paying for any of that. When you have 1,000 members, let's just do the math on it, right? And it was very frustrating for me, actually. And I had to take a step back in my own, see where they were coming from. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think that we all have to do that right now, because people are in a completely different mindset than they have been. And, I've got my manager calling right now for my RV park going, okay, how do I do this? Because we've been ordered to shut down and things like that. So there's things happening in the moment. And I think we have to be very patient with people, patient with ourselves right now, and take a deep breath and just go, okay, where's this person coming from? And it can be very frustrating to us sometimes, because people can be very short-sighted, and just get out of this panic mode.
Right. Get out of the panic mode. And we work with students. You're all mentoring students. Everybody on here is amazing. Everybody's going to listen to this amazing. When it goes out to the podcast world, you're all amazing. And true entrepreneurs. Like Christy, I gotta tag you with Ron here. Ron, who's in the other frame here, is a true entrepreneur, because he hears it, sees it, and just does it and get it done. Because he's not looking at the short term. How does this play out long term? And that's where the entrepreneur stands out. So I'll make sure we'll connect on Facebook. You're both part of the group. But it's that kind of thing. It's that long term. So why don't we take a couple questions, and then I'll give you a little wrap. And I think we're going to be bringing you back. So I can tell you that right now. And also be on all the calls. If there's any questions, you can put your hand up. You can do that by clicking on the 3 little buttons and put your hand up. The other thing that you can do is you can type out any questions that you have. You can also bring yourself live so I can see your face if there's any questions. And there doesn't have to be. We don't let a lot of dead time, though, go, because we are doing a podcast here. People driving don't want to just hear, right? So if you have any questions, it's time to go live. I'll just use your first names because we got the podcast. And if they're not, that's okay, too. We'll end that. And then people suddenly, they're not so nervous because they're not on the pod. Any questions? Anybody? You just have to go live, either unmute yourself. And if not, I know there's also, Kristi, they're asking how they can contact you. So Kristi's part of the Mentor Studio. She's now becoming a mentor. And so she's on the Vertical Live group. So you can just ask her right there, right in the group. She'd be happy to give you information on how to contact her or if there's any questions.
And that way I can answer questions.
Yeah, exactly. It's another great way to do it. So are there any questions right now? Okay, Shelly's like, hey, Ron.
Kristi, I just want to thank you for doing this, because I totally understand about the buyer-owned contracts. I've done that with my family, and it's a great reminder of thinking outside the box. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. And you just remind me of something. We can help you sell your house that way to not people that are on this group. And that's how I actually sold my house not too long ago, and my parents' ranch, and in multiple ways. So there's a lot of different ways of using it. Even if you don't go out and build a business with it, it can help you and it can help all of us in the way that we buy and sell real estate.
Well, the good thing was I sold my house before all this came down, so that happened.
Timing.
Yeah.
And it's funny too. Now there's three of us on here. What's interesting too is that I've talked to some people recently who have a lot of equity. I mean, their home, it's $500,000 to up to $1 million in equity, but they can't touch it because something's happened to their credit and their banks won't even talk to them. And they're like, I have all this equity. That equity could pay off all my credit cards, could put me in a great financial standing. And they just, I mean, right now, look, I'm not going to say anything because it's going out to podcast, but why the bank sort of got a little slap on the hand today because it's not flowing the way it should. So we need to talk about that one day because people are really stuck in that. I have all this equity. And I'm not going top. I'm not going to, like, if I have $500,000 equity, I just want $100,000 because then I'd rather pay somebody the 10 to 12% than my credit card companies. Does that make sense? And I still have $400,000 equity in my house. So I'm not going, bottoms up on it, and they can't move it.
That's a niche we need to figure out.
Please. I think it's actually a big niche. If somebody can do that, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people in that really want to push past that and again, maybe the banks hold it too because they'd rather have you pay 20-something% on. But we don't know that, so who knows? We love them all. Right. Again, we'll open it up for questions again after the podcast. Bases for sale, but we won't say that on the podcast. So, Kristi, any last thoughts? I'll turn off the podcast part. I'll tell them we're ending it, even if they might cut it out anyway. Any last thoughts or what people could do right now?
Just know that there's alternatives out there, and taking control of your own finances is so important right now. And taking that deep breath and just going, okay, what can I do? Don't focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can do and just move forward. Get going. Awesome.
It's been great, Kristi, today. And I really appreciate it. And again, I don't remember if I asked you, but headshot and bio, because again, it will go up as part of the new site. So make sure that happens. If I haven't asked you already. And I want everybody to know in the podcast world too, we truly are actually, we are launching an education site. Actually, it's all built. It's been built for 3 years. And the group runs a digital media big firm for 21 years. And we just cut the deal. We partnered. They're awesome. And so Mentor Studio is moving over there and a lot of my talent's moving over there. So I just want to let everybody know, if you truly have, not you and your buddy, that's not engagement. I mean, it's engagement, right? That's important. But if you have a list of over about 1,000 and they're fairly engaged, usually engagement, I'd like to see about 20-25% engagement, which means they're actually talking to you and they'll respond to what you do. I'd be happy to talk to you, and you can always get in touch with us. I'll give you, it's M Silvers, that's MSILVERS at VTGRP.com. And so let me know you're engaged. And my team's they're going to search it, right? They're going to search you. They're going to search all the search teams. They'll know exactly what the engagement is within 1 hour. So please tell us something that's truly going on. But if you really have engagement, over 1,000 followers on any platform, and you're very engaged with them, come talk to us, because they'll fly you out to the studio, right? They can produce your whole show. They'll put it up. They'll put it in because we're adding content all the time. And then there's the revenue off the affiliate program. So, but they do all the other layers. And they used to charge clients 50 to 75 grand to do this. And it's really just become it was my convincing. I mean, really, let's do this. Let's mentor. Let's get people, they're home. Let's get them engaged. And let's do this for the rest of our lives because we don't know what's going to be going on. We'll all be, but it's a great day. So for myself, from Kristi Duvall at the Mentor Studio, we want to thank you so much for being on today. If you've driven somewhere and you're now pulling up to a hospital and you're an essential worker and you're helping, if you're pumping gas to keep the trucks moving, if you're feeding people, whatever that is for you, we do help at our church all the time. Still, we're open just a couple hours a day. We're not allowed to congregate or anything like that. But we have a homeless tent encampment behind us. My wife's probably right now going to get them kerosene. Do what it takes to really help the rest of mankind out there. Volunteer, be of service, and do everything that you can. I wanted to thank you for being on the call today, everybody. Morning, afternoon, or evening. Rest of you stay on, by the way. We'll just end the podcast. But morning, afternoon, evening. Kristi, you were awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, for the Mentor Studio and the Vertical Live, we'll talk to you all soon. Goodbye.
We're honored that you invested time with us today at the Mentor Studio. Now, don't be greedy. Share this knowledge bomb with all your dope peeps on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Actually, we'll even pay you to do it. To get the deets, please check out thementorstudio.com.